What's up, crew? It is TJ Kelly here, 2 o'clock on the East Coast on Wednesday. I am here with Josh Keeton from Charlottesville, Virginia. Josh, how are you today?
Very good, very good. I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, thanks for joining. We're doing the live thing as usual, and I'll wait a minute or two to let people jump on. But the reason we got the call today is Josh is an expert in Google AdWords, among many other things, might I add. But today we're here to talk about Google AdWords and how it can and should be used in the real estate industry. And I'm going to stay out of the way. Today I'm going to let Josh just take over because he is a wealth of information. I have a list of questions I'll go through. But before we dive into the subject matter, let's take a minute or two. Josh, if you could introduce yourself, explain to everybody that may not be familiar with you yet. You're a moderator in our group, but most folks may not know you as well as, me and Courtney always talking to everybody every week. So if you would tell us who you are, what you do for a living, and, why we're here to talk about AdWords and what you've done with it and all that.
Sure. Well, first to sit in the seat that Courtney Burfrey and Kelvin said is quite an honor, so I appreciate it. I get a lot out of this group, so I'm glad to give back. But I've been in marketing for about 15 years, mostly traditional marketing. And about 6 years ago, maybe 7 years ago, my brother became an agent. And my two brothers are my best friends in the world, and I decided, that I was going to help him in any way that I could. We do traditional marketing, mailings, and stuff like that. But I'd say, around that time, AdWords was still a little green. I mean, people had been on it for a while, but particularly in the real estate industry. So we put up an ad, drove it to, looking back, what was a terrible site. Drove it to the home page. Tried some quirky little things with the ad, but in essence, had built his business from scratch there. He's also just an incredible agent, so not taking credit for it. But fast forward 7 years, we've doubled down on a lot of things that are great. He's building a team, and he's a top 5% agent in the Richmond area. Very, very proud of him. So AdWords has evolved a bunch. I'm here to kind of share some of the things that work for us and how it's kind of evolved.
Cool.
But credential-wise, I'm certified in AdWords and Google Analytics. Mm-hmm. I also work with a few other agents. I typically will take on a market. I don't like working with multiple agents in the same market because I kind of have various things that I do that would overlap and put everybody's money against each other. So I do work with other agents, with some of the same principles. And I have an application with Google for a partner, which I assume will get approved soon. So
That's awesome.
Here we are.
That's awesome. I didn't know that. That's great. So to catch everybody else up a little bit, Josh and I have done a couple of projects together. We have one really big one that is actually not in the real estate space that we're collaborating on. And I can personally vouch, therefore, for Josh's experience and expertise in this. This was a client of mine that I realized my weakness and had to bring Josh on board to help with. And I am very glad that I did that because my client is now very, very happy with the work that Josh was able to do in AdWords, specifically bringing in leads. I think we reduced this client's cost per click or cost per lead by something like 60%, a huge margin. Got so many leads that they told us to hit the pause button. We don't have the capacity to even call these people and close sales. So I take very little, if any, credit for that. That was all Josh. So thank you and nice work on that one, Josh.
Results not always that typical, but that was a good one.
Well, yeah, I wish they were all that easy, right? So all right, let me dive into the questions here. Let's start with the obvious one. A lot of people, especially in the real estate industry, know about Google AdWords. They've heard about it for years. And the second thing they hear is it's very expensive. So my question for you is, why AdWords, and isn't it too expensive?
Well, if you're paying for leads and measuring your lead costs and leads get you a sale, what do you consider to be too expensive? Because AdWords is on that scale. It's my personal opinion that SEO leads are the highest converting and ultimately the cheapest. I mean, there's work involved, but I think AdWords is a close second. I also do Facebook, though not the expert that Courtney is. But if you're going to tell me that someone if you're an agent in Miami and someone searches for find my dream home in Miami, and you're going to tell me that that is nothing that you can leverage, then I would politely disagree. People are searching for, the top best places to live in Miami. So it's a matter of where, qualified traffic, which you probably talk about, I'm sure you talk about a lot, and, do you consider someone searching for a home to be qualified traffic? And I would say.
So then let me ask you this. If we're really talking about quality of traffic, then where does the notion come from that AdWords is expensive? Where do people get that idea in the first place? I mean, and I say that full knowing people are buying leads from Zillow and Facebook, coming out to $50 is a pretty good number. Usually it's more like 75 or 100 if you're in a competitive market. So given the numbers there, why do people point the finger over at AdWords and say, no, that's too expensive?
Well, I hear that, and I also hear people, particularly, my clients that have had success say, I can't live without AdWords. So you're right, it runs the gamut. I also hear people say Zillow sucks, and then I hear people say we make money on Zillow. So it's a matter of, do you have the ability to leverage that quality traffic? But I think what has happened, particularly, a lot of people jumped on AdWords years ago, and they set it up themselves, and cut it on, and then check back a week later, and they dropped $1,000 on it, and they didn't get any leads. So I think that was a common thing, because I would say a lot of people, when you try to do it yourself, you have to be really careful. Google will help you. You can call them and say, I'm looking to do this, and they'll help you. But I mean, their agenda is for you to spend money. So you have to be really careful about that. And where people waste money is if you're trying to come up for a search for, Miami real estate agent, but you didn't make discount a negative keyword, then you're getting clicks for Miami's discounted real estate agent. So a lot of the waste, in my opinion, is in the setup process. Or secondly, if you're getting clicks and traffic, but no one contacting you, then I would say your problem is where you're sending them primarily. Landing page, which you talk about all the time.
Yeah, and if I may summarize, and correct me if I'm getting this wrong, but it sounds to me like you're saying it's not that it's expensive, it's just expensive to do wrong. Does that sound about right?
Yeah, that's very true, yeah.
And of course, that argument could be made about Facebook. How many people, I guess the difference on Facebook is that you can boost something for $5. And you could do something similar on Google, obviously, but if you do it wrong on Facebook, it probably hurts a little less. It hurts your budget a little less than it might on Google, depending on how you set it up, of course. But it's a really good point about the setup, and it's a really good point about the landing page. And I see that we had a comment down below from Ellen Pitts, down North Carolina. Thank you, Ellen, for watching. Thanks for the comment. Ellen posted in this very group earlier, maybe late last week, about her campaign and landing page. That was actually on Facebook, but a similar subject where a lot of folks said, hey, let's talk about the page itself. It's not the ad, it's the page. And that obviously applies to both Facebook and Google. So that's a pretty good point. So let me hop into to the next one here. So if AdWords is not expensive by default, if it can be if you do it wrong, but that kind of goes away as like a outright criticism. And now we kind of open the door and say, no, it's really not that bad if you set it up properly. So let's go to the next layer and say, okay, who is it good for? Who should be using AdWords?
So not everyone.
Okay.
I will say the people who certainly need it and certainly should be using it, or if you're already getting conversions on your site, or if you have great content on your site, but you're having a really hard time getting quality traffic there, you are a strong candidate for AdWords. If you're a brand new agent, you got a brand new site, and you have 10 IDX pages set up, you're probably not ready. So anyone who's confident in their content and has a great user experience to share about their area, neighborhood, or whatever, I'm telling you that you can share that content with someone in New Jersey who's looking to move to your area. So why wouldn't you want to do it? And I can tell you, I saw you tagged a few king of contents in the comments there, Dustin, Karen, Andrew. I don't know them personally necessarily. I've done a little bit for Karen, but when your content is great, you don't necessarily worry about CTAs. Like I'm willing to bet that those people just get leads because people read the content and they just want to do business with them. So, and I'd be willing to bet people just go and fill out a contact form, or they would just call them. Where you and I are always trying to get, work on the CTA and trying to get, find some sort of value for people to opt into. When you have killer content, like, people want to do business with you. Karen's a good example. If you go to her site, you look at some of her videos, you not only love Savannah, but you are dying to get Karen to show you Savannah. She just has done a great job with video, and showing, her warm personality. And so if you have great content, you're probably getting SEO traffic for that content. But what AdWords will do is it'll bring people interested in that content who have home search intent. So if you have a first-time home buyer content that's really sticky, people are coming in on first-time home buyer terms, but you can actually get them to come in and view that content on homes for sale terms that you are likely not ranking on.
So I've heard some distinction drawn, comparison between Google advertising and AdWords versus Facebook, and I think I got this from Chris Smith in his book Conversion Code. If you haven't read Conversion Code, go check it out. It's awesome. He talks about how Google AdWords is demand fulfillment. Somebody is already raising their hand and saying, I have a question, please answer it for me, and you're fulfilling that demand for them. You're providing an answer when they ask it. Yep. Where on Facebook, it is demand generation. You're telling them before they think to ask you that, hey, by the way, don't you want this? And they go, oh, yeah, wait a minute. Yeah, I totally do want that. So they're two kind of different sides of similar coins. But I think it's a really good point. I'll go back to what you said a minute ago, where you can, if you're in Miami, you can find people specifically in New Jersey who are looking to move to Miami. I have one person, one client I've spoken to in the Jacksonville, Florida area, and there's a really big office there for, I'm going to forget now, Athena Health or one of these big healthcare type companies, and they also have an office in Minneapolis. So this realtor and a lot of them down there have figured out that there's a lot of relocation from Minneapolis to Jacksonville for that company specifically. So therefore, why wouldn't you be running ads targeting people that are in the Minneapolis area? You can do that on Facebook, yes, but on in AdWords, you can make sure that people who are searching how to do it, how do I move to Jacksonville, best realtor, best places to move, whatever, once they have that question, their intention is there. Their likelihood to convert is really high, and you can be the one that's going to find them, and Google can provide you those tools in the moment much better, I think, than Facebook can when they have that intention, that demand fulfillment. So is that something you've seen and you would recommend?
Yeah. First of all, I love Chris Smith's book. If you're getting into online marketing, it is an easy read. It is actionable advice. If you listen to the guy speak and talk, he has incredible passion. He used to be QuickBooks salesperson.
Quicken Loans,
sorry. Yep, sorry. And on the phone, and so he's used to a high-paced, aggressive sales process, and he's really good at it. Yeah. But yeah, it's they call Facebook. I've also heard Facebook called interrupt marketing. I go to Facebook to see a cute pictures of my nieces and nephews, and then someone says, "Hey, are you interested in looking at homes wherever?" Now, you can be clever about that, but it is a big difference. And, so in turn, Facebook leads will be $3, $4, $7, where your AdWords leads maybe $30, $50, $100.
And that's a function of competition, right? That
absolutely.
It's an auction, it's a bid market, so people are willing to pay $30. Google's going to charge $30. If anybody's only willing to pay $7, it's the same thing with pricing your house. It all depends on what people are willing to pay. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. Now, let me just clarify this. What I just spoke about is the cost of a conversion, which is usually multiple clicks. So clicks, for people who don't know, most people do, your ad will show, but you don't get charged anything until someone clicks on it. So you have a great shot at building a relationship. They didn't just see your name and you got charged like people would do on, say, a billboard. They were interested enough in what you had to say that they clicked and then went to your page that you have dedicated to that topic. So when I say $30, $50, $100 leads, that may be 30, 50, 100 clicks. So not every click converts. We all know that. Most of the homes for sale clicks on the markets that I work with are between 75 cents and $2. for the homes for sale, real estate for sale crew. People looking for agents, that varies a bunch. $15, $30, that can get up there. But, just to distinguish click and lead costs, I don't consider those the same thing.
Yeah. So real quick to jump in, Karen, thank you again for the comments here. Karen asks, is Chris Smith the same guy that had a business called Tech Savvy Agent a few years ago? Yes, that's the same Chris Smith. He's been with Quicken Loans. He's been with, I think, move.com or move.org, whatever it's called. He even sold for Ron Perlman, the guy that found or created the Backstreet Boys, or maybe it was NSYNC. I don't know. Guy has an incredible wealth of experience. But yes, Tech Savvy Agent's him. If you are in a Facebook group called What Should I Spend My Money On? That's also him. His company now is called Curator. They are a marketing and website platform, and it's excellent. Highly recommend it. It's pretty expensive, but it's worth it. Those guys know exactly what they're doing. So I'm not here to sell for Chris Smith. He doesn't need my help to do it anyway. But the book is called The Conversion Code, and it's fantastic. Highly recommend it. So thanks again, Karen, for the question.
He gives actionable advice like you get a lead, you call them, they don't answer. You don't leave a message. You call them right back. Right. And then if they don't answer again, you try them one more time. Right. And then if they don't answer again, you try them in 15 minutes. And I mean, it's really good actionable advice. Yeah. Setting up landing pages. It's highly recommended. Like I said, I more listen to books, but I actually read this one.
Yeah, it's that next level. All right, let's move on here. So we asked who should use AdWords. The next follow-up, obviously, is who should not use AdWords. Are there people that it's not right for? You kind of hinted at this a little bit, but can we go into a little bit of, allow me to put myself in a box, a yes, no on AdWords. Should I not? So who is on the not side?
Well, anybody can grow up to be good for it, but if your site is new, you don't have a lot of content, you just have a few IDX pages, then what you're doing is you're competing on the home searcher experience, and you're competing with $100 million budgets of Zillow and Realtor Truly or whatever. So when you don't offer anything of value above an IDX page, you can still get leads, but I would, if you were my client, I would highly recommend taking 2 steps back and let's build some great pages first. Even if it's rather than having a page for all of Miami real estate, even if you break down like 4-bedroom homes and you put them in one, or homes on the coast and you have another page for that. Just adding a little more to the experience is important. So I would say new sites, new agents probably need to build up a little bit before I would recommend spending their money. The other thing that I run across a lot is people, and I completely understand this. I've started 2 businesses. You're working your ass off for hours and hours and a year sometimes before anything good happens to you. So you scrutinize every single dollar you spend. A lot of times AdWords takes playing around with things and figuring out what's going to convert on your site. So I'd also say another person who wouldn't be a good candidate for AdWords is someone who says, okay, let me see what $200 can do for me, or I can't really afford to do this, but I'm going to try. You kind of have to have a little bit of tolerance for, especially if you want to set it up yourself, for kind of playing around with it. There's certain things that I know work in certain markets, certain phrases and certain ads. So, I'm kind of able to circumvent a little bit of that. But even still, like sometimes a certain landing page just doesn't work, and I'm always trying to fix that or work with the client, say, what other value proposition can we offer? So I would say that's kind of another one, kind of new agents or people who are really scrutinizing their dollar amount. Now that doesn't mean you can't do it, but I would caution you. Okay. I would call me to say, let's look at your site list.
Yeah, and I'm going to say now again, I'm not here to sell for Google. They don't need my help either. But since today we're talking specifically about AdWords, I'm going to clarify that argument would apply to something like Facebook too, right? You don't want to come at this and say, listen, I have $100. And whatever I can get for $100 is great, but other than that, I can't spend that much. It just takes a little bit more to pay to play on both platforms. Is that fair?
Absolutely. And I saw someone in your group said, spent this on Facebook, and I'm not getting anything. I'm getting clicks, not getting leads. And then I think it was Courtney said, well, hey, share your settings and everything like that. And then Courtney found some little tweak in the setting that was causing problems. They came back to the post and said that made all the difference.
That was Katie LaGrace down in Florida. And thank you, Katie.
Yes. So similar to that, if you either don't have the experience or you can do without experience. You can play around and kind of be careful. But if you don't have the experience or the content, I would say proceed with caution.
Yeah. Okay, fair. So I'm going to jump back into the comments here. This one from Katarina Wilkerson. Katarina, I'm going to assume that maybe you meant Chris instead of Josh here. It says Josh came and shared a lot of the tips from the book. I assume you're actually talking about Chris Smith, unless, Josh, you wrote a book that I don't know about. That's entirely possible. But if we're back on Chris Smith, shared a lot of tips from the book with our real estate team, and we've converted a lot of the leads from the site he made into clients. So a testimonial there for, I think, again, for Chris Smith and the curator method, the conversion code method that he preaches. If you haven't checked out that book, you got to do it.
Actually, can you hear me?
Yes.
Katarina is one of my clients, and I think what she's saying is I went in and did a training about the book for online leads. So, yes.
My apologies for assuming there, Katarina. Thank you for the clarification. Josh talking about Chris's book. I get it now. Excellent. Yep. Thank you very much. So let's see. Next, who should not... Other than that, what is new in AdWords? And I'm asking this question specifically because if you saw the comments down below, I had a quick discussion with Andrew Fortune out in Colorado. And Andrew's commentary was that he had used AdWords a number of years ago but stopped and switched over to Facebook. And I hear that a lot. I know there are a lot of realtors out there that tried it for a while, like you said earlier, and said, oh, Facebook is the thing, and moved over there. Nothing wrong with that, but you might have missed some developments in AdWords. I know that I had missed some, and you clued me into that. So what are some of the things that are new in the last couple of years that are helping your clients today with AdWords?
Yeah. So Google is constantly changing the landscape on AdWords. I mean, one simple thing that they did, and I think this is probably about 2.5 years ago, is they used to just give you one bold headline. Approximately 2.5 years ago, they changed it to where you can now have 2 bold headlines. So they literally gave you an extra line of text to pitch. And you won't believe the amount of people I see that still aren't using that. They just have, an old system set up, and they just aren't aware of that change, or they have a bad AdWords manager who's just in cruise control and not trying to help them get better. So that's one thing. Another thing that happened, actually this just happened last year, and this is really cool. You can create a custom audience in AdWords in the same way you can create in Facebook. You can actually do it with addresses now. So you can do a mailer to a neighborhood and technically take the addresses from that neighborhood, upload them to AdWords, and create an audience of that neighborhood. So anyone who searches for whatever parameters you've set up in those addresses they'll show your ad to it. You've always been able to do this for email, not always, but you've been able to do this for a while for emails, phone numbers, just like you can in Facebook. They take your client list. They want it to be your clients. They take your client list and they match it up with Facebook profiles and do the same thing with AdWords. But the address thing is interesting because I haven't personally done this yet, but I've heard a lot of people talking about addresses are public information, so you're not buying an email list, and people are uploading addresses and marketing to just their farm.
Mm-hmm. So now. The point here is that people harp on how great Facebook is because of its customization tools, that you can reach exactly the audience you want to reach, and that's well established and it's extremely valuable. And again, if I understand you properly, the point here is that you can do that in Google too, but a lot of people might not realize the extent that Google offers those tools. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. Just like Apple and Samsung have just continued to make each other better, Facebook and Google are competing for your ad dollars, so they're always trying new, interesting things. A new thing from Google too, which is pretty new, is what they call in-market. This is only available for display network, which is a lot of what we're talking about is search marketing. So people search for something, you show up. Display network is people go to CNN.com and they see your ad. People go to Forbes. See your ad. That's Google's partner circuit, and you can advertise to them. So one cool thing that Google has fairly recently done is they have what's called in-market. So they also there's two things. There's affinity audience and there's in market. So Facebook, everybody who uses Facebook knows they have a category called likely to move. And Courtney's talked about it. People talk about it all the time. Facebook has just determined that they believe you're interested in moving. So Google kind of saw things like that, and they're like, okay, we can work on that too. So Google's created what they call affinity audiences, which are people who have a passion for something. And you can have an affinity audience for NFL football. You can have an affinity audience for real estate, which are typically realtors. But there's also what's called in market. And in market means Google believes you're in the market to buy this specific thing. So there's an in market for new cars. There's an in market for Hondas. There's an in market for plumbers. But there's also an in market for real estate. And Google is seeing that you are looking. You're on Zillow, you're on Realtor.com, and they're assuming because of these things that you're doing that you're in the market. So you can actually set up a display campaign to target people who are in the market for real estate. And another topic is moving, people who are looking for moving services. So same kind of thing as Facebook. These people are thinking about moving. They're on websites talking about boxes and how to box.
Yeah. Moving companies and sure. So again, this is not that it's terribly novel to have to be able to profile somebody's behavior. It's just that it exists in Google too, and most people might not realize that. They think that Facebook has the market cornered on likely to move. Turns out Google has a pretty good version of that themselves. Is that right?
Yeah, they do. They also there's also a couple other things that are fairly new. Probably 18 months, 2 years ago, you have the ability to target based on income now, and this is in search, not necessarily not display network. I'm talking about search now. So you can target. So say you're selling a $2 million home on Miami Beach. You don't want me to see that ad.
Me either.
So you want people who make a certain amount of money to see it. And so Google has income tiers now. There's one is called the top 10%, so top 10% of income producers. And you can just target your ads to those levels of income, top 50% income, however. You can also target based on gender. If you're a kind of stay-at-home mom realtor or stay-at-home dad realtor, you can target people who you think you may connect a little bit better with, like your posts or whatever. Mm-hmm. You can also people with children in the home. So
with all these tools that compare, they're pretty much the similar version between Facebook and Google with a lot of these targeting tools and things. One of the other critiques that you hear, at least that I hear a lot about AdWords, is that the quality of lead isn't as reliable as it is on Facebook, because Facebook knows who you're getting, that you know a lot more information about that lead right away. But on Google, you have to rely on a landing page or something, and they can give you a junk email address or a junk phone number or something. So regarding the lead that you get at the end of this process with AdWords, what is the quality that you see, depending on a number of factors, I'm sure. And then also there are different types, as I understand it, that might be slightly different from Facebook. So can you walk through both the type and the quality of lead that you get from AdWords?
Well, a lot of this is, like I've been in the mind of a home buyer for the last 7 years, and I'm always trying to determine what they're thinking about, what they're looking for. Realtors are the same way, but a lot of it is understanding what that person is looking for. So for example, we target sellers. A lot of good seller leads from people looking for a real estate agent. Now, if you're in Miami and people search for real estate agent Miami, there's a good chance that they're going to sell their home. If a person in New Jersey is looking for a real estate agent in Miami, unless it's trust owned or some freak thing, they're likely thinking about moving to Miami. So none of this is a science, but you just kind of whittle down data to benefit you, and you increase your chances of getting quality traffic. I absolutely love new movers on targeting those leads on Facebook. If someone's looking for a home in your area, there's a good chance, if someone lives in your area, they're looking for a new home, there's a chance someone in their PTA meeting is a realtor. There's a good chance that their cousin is a realtor. So I love to target people. I love to target the people in New Jersey looking to move to Miami because they don't know a realtor, more than likely. So if someone in New Jersey is searching for Miami's homes for sale, I have my campaign set up to where I'm going to spend money on that over and over because there's a great chance that they don't have a realtor and they need one. We've all helped new movers before, and they make the mistake sometimes of just driving to the community and aimlessly wandering around, and they don't know what they're doing. So they want help. They want an expert. So I think that by thinking about the intent of the searcher, in a lot of geolocating, I love geolocating on AdWords. You can again whittle down and make people a little bit more qualified.
Yeah.
Let's see, another one else. Well, home buyers. So new movers convert a lot better. I also like to ask in the landing page. I like to ask another question or two. If you're just saying, hey, opt in with your email and get this, you are going to get fake leads. But if you just say, are you working with an agent also, or do you need to sell your home also? People who spend extra time filling out kind of an extra additional question, I mean, they're usually a better lead. And also, if everybody hates getting an internet lead, you call them and they are working with an agent. So I kind of like asking that question up front to not waste
some time. So then, again, let me paraphrase and make sure I understand it. So you're saying if you add another qualifying question on the landing page or on the contact form or something, your quantity of leads will go down. You're weeding out some people that don't really want to convert, but your quality will go up because the people that do give you their name are much more likely to keep on responding to you and ultimately buy from you. That sounds pretty standard across the board, honestly. This is the major complaint a lot of people have with lead ads on Facebook is that the quantity goes way up, but the quality might not be as high because it's so easy to convert that you get window shoppers and you get people to just hit the button by accident or something. That has versions and kind of corollaries in both. But it's a pretty good point where you're combining all these tools into one defined process. That's where your quality comes from.
Exactly, and just doing little chipping away here and there. And I kind of rambled through that a little bit, but I want to make sure people understand. The long form questions help, but on the front end, targeting geo and having a message for certain people also helps your lead quality. Like there's some areas, like if I'm working with someone, if I'm working with an agent in Miami, and they said I want to spend $1,000, I would say, okay, we're probably not going to target people in Miami looking for a house. We're probably going to target people everywhere else looking for a house. Because there's a much better chance they're going to want to work with you. There's a much better chance this is a second home. And we can whittle it down even more. If you want to be a luxury buyer, we're going to target people who don't live in Miami, who are in that top 10% of income. And you just keep whittling away and let Google's algorithms kind of help you steer the right help us steer the right way, and then it becomes quality message on the landing page after that. But upstream and downstream, for sure, things matter.
So that kind of leads into the next one, where if I am convinced, I'm hearing everything you're saying about AdWords, and like, wow, you know what, I really should give that a shot. Maybe I can differentiate myself from everybody else who's jumping onto Facebook lately, everybody else who's already buying leads from Zillow. Obviously, maybe the competition in AdWords isn't quite as steep among local competitors. Yes, you'll be up against Zillow and everybody else with these big budgets on the general terms, but you can find a way to differentiate yourself, keep your costs down by highlighting your content, your brand, your experience. So if I'm becoming convinced and I want to get started, what are the first, maybe 3 things you'd recommend for people brand new to AdWords?
Okay, that's a good question. One, you need to set up an ad for your name. If I'm searching TJ Kelly Realtor, that term Realtor is going to trigger other people's ads. I can tell you, every person I work with, it's going to trigger their ad. So if somebody's looking for TJ Kelly Realtor, and they see someone else under your name, I mean, it's a heartbreaker. And not that people are necessarily trying to do that, to step in front of the competition. People are, but the term realtor or real estate agent is going to trigger other people's ads. So one, I would set up an ad for your own name. I mean, it sounds silly, but you got to make sure if people are looking for you, they're going to find you and not stumble into someone else.
Yeah, and I can tell you from my own experience that having we used to remember, maybe you remember a few years back, there used to be right-hand sidebar ads in addition to the top and bottom. So you could have ads on top, ads on the right, and then organic results in the bottom left. we used to call it the trifecta, that if you had 2 ads and then an organic result, you had your brand or your product or something in all 3 places, you're almost guaranteed every click that comes through for that result. Now, obviously, the sidebar is gone, but having a paid result and an organic result for your name increases your click-through rate exponentially. And by the way, having an ad there are plenty of web, savvy users out there who will see an ad and an organic result, and by definition, kind of ignore the ads and say, I don't want to be marketed to. I want the real answer. And everyone trusts the organic answer more, so they might even skip the ad with your name on it and click the organic one. But still having double branding there is a good thing for you, and you still don't pay for that click if it happened on the organic.
Absolutely, and to even add on to that, if this is totally different, but your Google listing, your Google business listing, a map ad. So you can have an ad, you can have your map, Google listing in the maps, and then organic too. But again, you don't want anybody to jump on that.
Yeah.
The second thing I would highly recommend, and this stuff doesn't cost a lot of money. This is just kind of protects you and makes it so you are kind of jumping in front of quality traffic that are cheap clicks. Another thing I would do is your own brokerage. People do search for brokerages. I've had a lead. I live in a small town just a little bit outside of Charlottesville. There's a couple brokerages here. I know that people drive through town, see the brokerage sign, and Google that brokerage and try to find somebody there because it's just in the area that you're searching, or they see a sold listing, or they see a sign in the front yard and they Google that brokerage name. Believe it or not, I keep using Miami as a reference, but I've recently done some research on it. But 500 Google, my tools tell me that almost 600 people search for Keller Williams Miami, that term.
And that's in a given month?
Yes, a month. And it's a cheap click. So, now granted, they might be looking at a sign, they might be looking, they might have driven through and seen it in the neighborhood, but why wouldn't you want to show up for that too? I mean, you could be, if they did see a sign, don't you want to be the buyer's agent for people who look at that? Mm-hmm. So your own name, your brokerage, and then the third thing I would do is market to the community where you live. Why you love living there. And hopefully you've alreed done some content, and not just the entire city, but preferably a subdivision. And I tell everybody new, and I give a lot more advice than I actually have clients. I'm always trying to help people with this. But one of the biggest advices that I'll give in this group, I've given in other groups, is be a big fish in a little pond. Instead of trying to be the top agent in Miami, it's not going to work in the beginning. Try to be the best agent in your subdivision, and because people, if I'm thinking about moving to a subdivision, I want to talk to someone who lives there. I want to talk to someone who loves it there. I want to talk to someone who can tell me that they love that their kids can walk to school, or they love that the pool is open year round. While you can't be the best agent in Miami in the beginning, you can definitely be the best agent in your neighborhood. So those are 3 things I would target. And when I talk about big fish, little pond, your subdivision may be 300, 400, 500 homes. Some are bigger, some are smaller. But if you have 7 or 8 pages about that subdivision, then you're going to get attention. And the way you set up ads is you set up a main ad that goes to their agenda. If it's a homes for sale ad, you want it to be IDX. And then Google lets you set up what's called site links, which are just other pages that have to do with the topic. And this is so crucial in real estate, is so you don't just have homes for sale in the subdivision. You put together a community tour of the subdivision, and you have a separate link in Google. You put up homes for sale under $250,000, and you have a separate link in Google. So that does a lot of things for you. It creates authority, which we talked a lot about. The content experts earlier have just created authority in their areas. But it also tells Google you're an authority, and then in turn you get way cheaper clicks. They'll give you more quote-unquote real estate on the search engine results. If you set up all the things that Google allows you to set up about your subdivision with multiple site links, they do is called call-outs, then you literally, when people search on a mobile phone, your ad can be the only one that they see. Like, you can fill up the face of a mobile home, and then who's going to get the click? I mean, I can tell you honestly, and I'll show anybody who wants to see. I can't show client specific, but we get subdivision homes for sale clicks at like a 50% rate, because I will take a 300 home subdivision and I'll put 8 pages together for it, and then I give it all to Google and say, okay, Google, if they're a golf lover, Google's going to know to show them the golf homes for sale. If they like to swim, Google's going to show them homes for sale with a swimming pool. So targeting those 3 things first, and loading up what Google gives you were 2 things that can make you pretty successful right off the bat and give you just really cheap clicks. And once you start showing Google that, hey, people go to my site and they're having a quality visit, then it also helps your SEO rankings as well, because Google says, okay, maybe he does know a little bit about that subdivision. You're going to possibly disagree. That is a lot. A lot of people talk about that, and I have heard experts on both ends say AdWords helps and AdWords hurts. So
I would never say that it hurts. I think it will help, but I think it helps indirectly, and I would love to go into that, but we're already 40 minutes in and it's off topic, so another time. But all right, so while you were giving that answer, I switched the question on the screen here from advice for beginners into advice for novice intermediate users. If there's people who tried it a while back and they're coming back again, or people who are doing a little bit and they know the ropes a little, but they want to hear from an expert, is there any one like major, go here, click on this and hit that button and voila, your magic happens? Is there any like intermediate novice type advice you'd give out, or was that it?
So not as simplified as you described it there, but if you're on AdWords, you're getting some conversions, you're kind of looking to scale up a little bit, or if you are hearing some things in this that kind of triggered you to kind of give it another try, some things that I do automatically, but I would highly recommend people doing for themselves, is setting up what you define as a conversion in Google. So for most of us, it's going to be filling out a showing request form, or filling out learn more information about this area form, something like that. And normally, if it isn't set up like this, but normally it redirects to a thank you page. And what you do is you tell Google, give Google that thank you page URL, and you say, when someone gets to this URL, I've got a lead. So you're setting up a conversion with Google, and then Google starts to look at this and say, okay, I'm talking like an algorithm here. This particular person who had these particular searches went through this process, and they hit his conversion. They converted into a lead. You can actually then go back into Google and say, okay, optimize for conversions, and you can say, so you don't have to do a lot of the thinking. I don't necessarily recommend this. You have to do a little bit of an intermediate, because you can spend money on this quick. But once Google understands what you consider a conversion, which is a lead, then they will use their kind of AI algorithms to go harder after people who are potentially conversion for you. Okay. The other thing I would do, absolutely. Go ahead.
So to parlay that back into to Facebook world, which a lot of people are more familiar with, where on Facebook you have to set up your ad for a particular objective. This is basically Google's version of that, as I understand it.
Yes, right? Yes. Google has objectives too. The objective is I want a bunch of clicks. Objective is I want conversions. And just like Facebook, they kind of have to learn what you feel like a conversion is. So you have to set it up. Some people might want the conversion to be an actual phone call to them. So you set it up as a mobile conversion.
And by the way, I might interject here. One of the challenges of working from home, I'm sure a lot of folks can relate to this. If you hear knocking, it's because my 5-year-old is home from school and wants to come in and be on Daddy's video. So, hey, welcome to life as working from home. I'm sure a lot of folks can relate. So, all right, I had I want to cut you off. Go ahead.
Yeah, and this is real quick. Google allows you again to set up a custom audience for people who have been. And there's a lot of different ways you can do this. I talked a little bit about addresses, but you can also do this for just anyone who's been to your site. So I would highly recommend this also, because clicks are cheap, click-through rates are huge, because they already know your name, they already have a little bit of trust built up in your site. So you could set up what's called an RLSA, remarketing list, for anyone who's been to your site. So maybe you're not trying to target everyone in Miami, but if someone's been to your site and then they're searching for Miami homes, well, then we want to show up. And again, high conversion, low click rate, very relative. Google gives you bonus points for relativity. The other thing is, if you have incredible new mover content, which I'm a big fan of creating, you can retarget anyone who went to that blog post. So the top 11 reasons why you want to move to Miami, if anyone goes to that page, there's a good chance they don't live there. So I want to remarket to them everywhere. I want to remarket to them on Facebook. I want to remarket to them in Google Display Network and CNN.com, but also anytime they search for anything else related to me. Right. So those are just a couple intermediate tips. Not easy to set up right away, but people can work through it.
So again, this is, if I may, I think what I'm hearing is all the tools you know and love about Facebook. Turns out Google has them too, and you might not know that. You might not have leveraged that. You might not have known that you can use all these things. So what people love about Facebook, in addition to the audience and the fact that you can get seen really quickly, that part is absolutely true. But all the customization and targeting tools that Facebook has, Google has too, and Google has the added benefit of some urgency, of demand fulfillment, so that you get people in the moment while they're thinking about it, which has always been Google's strength. But now, what I'm hearing is that, and by the way, we can do everything Facebook does too. Right?
Yeah.
Is that about right?
Yeah. And who did it what first? I don't know, but
right.
I love a lot of the selects in Facebook. Again, I'm targeting someone in market who's actually searching for help, not necessarily searching for cat videos.
And what that does for your click-through rate, absolutely, absolutely. So we got a comment here from Laura Anderson. Laura, thank you very much for the comment. Oops, I got a little over there. There we go. She says, great advice. Thank you. You're welcome, Laura. Thanks for watching. Thanks for the comment. So the only thing I have left on our agenda is a Q&A from viewers. So if we have an extra minute or two to stick around, I know we both have, the rest of our afternoon to go and get to, as is everybody watching the video. So if there are any questions or, things you've tried, if you have given AdWords a shot before, I want to hear how much money you lost, and where you got lost and where you got confused. I want to hear all these stories so that Josh can figure out a way to set you right, because I'm not doing it. I'm leaving that one to the expert. He's going to help out. So if there's any questions or, horror stories, we'd love to hear those. So Josh, in closing, until we get any of these questions, can you give me just what's my first thing? Is the first thing the budget? Is the first thing the content? Is the first thing the campaign setup? Is the first thing IDX? What is the very first thing I need before I move into to leveraging AdWords?
Well, I touched a little bit about this, but the first thing is having an absolutely clear identity on what you're trying to do. And the clearer that you can be, the cheaper you can start and the better you can be at that thing. If you don't have the patience for first-time home buyers, don't target them. But if you love working with those first-time home buyers, you have the patience and you have content, be very specific about it. And not only, and I'll whittle it down even further, so not only first-time home buyers, but I want first-time home buyers who live in my area, my town. And the more defined you can be about that, you can literally go in and spend $50 on AdWords and get leads from it. Seriously. And again, you have to layer it with all kinds of authority. It's not going to just happen, but if you whittle it down to, I know exactly what I want. I just want to target sellers, and I just want to target sellers within a mile of the home that I live or my brokerage. Then you can really whittle that down and get just put your budget towards a really refined audience there.
Okay.
And
so don't fire up the interface and attach your credit card information and put in your website URL and name and hit go. Yeah, don't just go in there guns blazing.
I'm going to say this too. AdWords Express, be very careful with that, because that is a wrapper that Google put. I think they introduced it like a year and a half ago or something. But that makes the setup simple, but it also makes spending your money very simple. So they claim, hey, 3-4 clicks and you're up and running, but also you will spend money fast doing that. Right. So define that process and then come up with, can I get 6 or 7 pages that are incredible content about this? Google your competitors. How are they? Google that term that you want to show up for and see what your competition is. And then I tell people, if you can be the greatest in the world at that keyword phrase, that's what we want to do. So if your competitor already has 30 videos about first-time home buyers, you might want to pivot a little bit and think about something else. I have a town that we cover that is one of my agents covers that is 4,000 people, and the average home sale is almost $500,000 in this town. It's a beautiful town. So the agent was like, I want to dominate this town. And so we literally put together 30 pages for a 5,000 population town. Guess what? We literally get 40% click rates. We have CTAs, all kinds of CTAs that we're testing. We get people who are moving from California. We literally just closed a new home build from someone who moved from California. It was 2,500 miles away. And what does everybody say? We love the site. And by the way, I didn't kind of mention this too, but being kind of great at that small, big fish in a little pond isn't always your normal homes for sale under 250, homes for sale with a swimming pool. There's other things you can do that are to make that are interesting. Like, one of my pages I have, which I'll talk to you about, TJ, sorry, is called it's called Sidewalks and Sunsets, and people click on that all the time. They're like, what is this? And it's just basically neighborhoods that have sidewalks that you can take an evening walk and get an incredible sunset view on. So that's not something Zillow's algorithm can figure out. That's a realtor who says, here's some passion we can show for this area, and that ad gets clicked on a lot. And guess what the CTA is on that page? Let us help you find your dream home, and we get clicks on it. It's not, you're not convincing anybody to do anything. You're just showing I have this passion, and people want to work with people that have that passion.
So it sounds like a bit of a shift in mindset from the typical Facebook strategy, but the results are there. The power behind this is there. It might be a little bit more difficult to achieve that if you don't know exactly what steps to go through to go from passion into an advertising campaign that can convey that and capture clicks and traffic on that. But that's why people like Josh are here to help you. I'm grateful to you for coming on to walk through it. We're nearly an hour in, and I don't know about everybody else watching, but I could absolutely keep going because there's just so much information here. I'm an absolute believer in the AdWords thing. I had to change my mindset on it too. Even when you and I first started working together, I had kind of a misconception of how things had to be done in AdWords, and I'm grateful to you for setting me straight on that and for taking the time today to help everybody watching. Hopefully everybody goes out there and at least experiments a little bit with AdWords because, man, the potential is there. You just got to kind of know where to go. So appreciate it, Josh. Any closing thoughts on the matter?
Yeah, like I said, at least grab your name and brokerage.
Yeah.
Quickly. If you do have questions, just drop them into the comments section. I'll watch it for the next few days. I'll be glad to help. If you want me to kind of look at some things that are going on, I'd be glad to do that. I've gotten so much help from Courtney and people in the group. I'll be glad to do that. No pressure. I'm not going to try to sell you anything. If you're a little worried about some strategy you're doing, your privacy of your area, whatever, you can hit me up on Facebook Messenger and I'll work with you. If you want to know if I think your site's a good candidate for AdWords, put it in here or hit me up privately through PM. So.
Appreciate that, Josh. That is an excellent offer. If you're watching the video, if you just catch the tail end, I'm actually going to put that in the description too for people who might not have made it all the way to the end of the video. But that is valuable. If you know Josh, I know Karen has worked with Josh, a few others out there. Katarina has worked with Josh. There's people in the group that can vouch for the information Josh has. I'm one of them, those two also, and Josh is one of our moderators. So please, whatever questions you have, throw them in the comments or find Josh on Messenger. Where else can we go to find you, Josh? You got a website or Twitter or what?
Well, I just, 3 years ago when I was starting to have success with this, I either decided I was going to have to be a realtor or do this full time, and I kind of decided to do this full time. So I've had so much luck consulting and helping people and getting clients that way that I haven't really branded myself very well. But I did just buy ppcforrealestate.com. So if you want to, and I'm going to start sharing some of the content there. I also have ppcforre.com, which I'm not sure. I like them both.
Now you got my gears turning on how this can.
So if you're interested, hit me up with a message or put something in the comment, and I can add you to our content list there. Or you can look out for it. Again, just helping. If you want a proposal, I'd be glad to do that. But I spend my time all day helping people in Facebook groups and stuff like this. So feel free to add.
Ours included, and thank you for that. You know us; we're not here to sell and beat you over the head with buy type messages. This is a service, help and kind of cooperation type group first, and Josh has been a huge part of that. So please take him up on that. Highly recommended. So once again, Josh, thank you very much. Grateful to you for being here for the day. It's about 3 o'clock. We're an hour in, so thank you for spending an hour of your afternoon with us. For everybody watching the video, thanks for joining us. We'll upload this over to YouTube, and we'll keep it here so that everybody can check it out. So Laura and everyone else watching, thank you so much. Happy to be with you today, and we'll see you on the next time. So thanks a lot, Josh. We'll talk soon.
Thanks, guys.
All right. Bye-bye.